facility that you've been in, Brian. And
Yeah,
it's
4.0.
4.0, and it's absolutely state-of-the-art, huge, upstream, amazing facility, full staff. We had, I think, 4 or 5 cameras going during the meetup. It was one of the best produced meetups we've ever done. And consistently, Brian's done a lot of great work. Actually, everyone at the stream have done some really great work with some interaction. And I think, well, he can talk a little bit more about that, but I've been very, very impressed with that. And then also,
how about somebody that's not on the panel?
Why, thank you.
well,
I think this panel's leading the way, actually. I mean, I say that as a joke, but I don't know. Everything that I watch and, you know, for live and try to see if we're doing it better, if they're doing it better, is sort of people involved here that I know of. I mean, you know, a lot of people are trying it now, you know, a lot of events, and there's concerts and things like that, you know, going through Ustream, but in the end, we're sort of the ones who sort of have developed this, I think, over the years, right?
For original programming, I think, you know, we've been working with Dick Clark Productions, and they do an extraordinary job with the red carpet pre-shows, and, you know, from the AMAs to when they did the Golden Globes to the Academy of Country Music Awards. And they have been doing some really good work with live stream and YouTube in terms of presenting a live news event or news show that is, for all intents and purposes, television. There's no real difference except just where it ends up. I think that they're definitely leading the path with bringing a lot of high-name talent to the scene. In terms of some of the more indie producers, I remember, you know, Big Fantastic did that project, Control TV, and that was
that was the Seth Green project?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the Seth Green project that was extremely interactive. Basically, viewers were able to control the main character in a sort of 24/7 reality show.
Brian?
Well, I'm a pretty big fan of Leo Laporte, and so if you haven't seen his live stream, it's pretty focused on tech. So if you're not into tech, you know, maybe the content's not for you, but the way they approach their shows, they kind of have a continuous schedule going on.
And
they
that's
just
Twit TV?
Twit.tv, yeah. And they just launched a new studio as well, and you know, the production design is, you know, very nice, soft colors, well lit, and they produce it for radio, and it's going out through the radio, but they've made it more presentable for television to watch it, which is really nice. And of course, Shira couldn't be here today. If you check out what's trending, I mean, their studio, you know, it's rigged up just to do that one show a week, and they really have put all their resources into making it look absolutely gorgeous. So as far as the presentation goes, those are 2 other people that are not here that are really making it look very nice.
I have to actually add to that is I really like what Tech Zulu's doing. Amanda Kulong and Efren Toscano do a wonderful job. You know, they have this beautiful setup at Blog World, and you know, they get lots of hits, and they use Stickem.com, and they use the platform, I think, to, you know, to the best degree of possible for interactivity on live streaming and really communicate with their audience directly. And I think it's wonderful what they're doing.
And remember, they like Stickam. They get aggravated with the Stickam.
Yeah, Stickam.
Stickam. But Andy over there is awesome.
Andy, you rock.
So, Mike, you produced television, traditional shows, but you've also done a lot of stuff live on the internet. What do you see as a difference between approaching it creatively? Are there some differences that you're seeing?
Yeah, I try not to approach it differently creative in terms of technically, in terms of what we can do. You know, I still want to make it look like TV and not to, you know, make people wear headsets or whatever. You know, I want to ignore the whole, there's really no difference to me, is I guess what I'm trying to say. In terms of creative, though, there are a few more, not challenges, a few more, I think it's actually better creatively, because one of the things we got to do is figure out how to interact, how to come up with interactive segments for our shows, and not just call in, not just have a chat room jock, but interesting things we can do. Like on one of my shows, Stupid for Movies, we have Buy, Rent, or Burn, where people can either tweet in or live Skype in or chat in and name a DVD. We tell you if you should buy it, rent it, or burn it. We had another segment that was Try This at Home, where we talked about a movie. Our fans rented it, and then the next week they came back and it became a roundtable discussion, and then you became the critic. and our critics just sort of listened and talked about it as well. So I like that. You know, it's where you can add to the creative because of the live element.
Brian, are you doing any pre-production that you're rolling into your live streams?
Yes, and I think what I tell a lot of people that want to do a good live show, and I keep trying to remind them that doing a live show isn't a lot different from just doing any show. It has to have a lot of different elements, and you kind of need to break it up. So where you're a live show, you might want to have a couple different looks and move around a little bit. At the same time, you also want to break out of the studio, and unless you have like a live feed somewhere off location, the easiest way to do that is to maybe get somewhere that's you know, makes sense to the topic. If you're talking about something, maybe you have some footage on location that you could break away to. It helps break up the show, add production value, and it gives the people that are doing the live show a little break so they can kind of check in with each other, because you do want to integrate that into your production if something maybe is missing, or just to get on the same page. So always remind yourself, a live production is not much different than something you would pre-record. The viewer is still expecting that production value and all those different segmentations.
Now, Damian, you do stuff at your the seminars that you put together. You live stream that out.
Yep.
And so you've got people that are in the room that are there to learn,
Yes.
But they're actually participating.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like we, you know, we have what we call like super fans for our pro panels. When we were doing those live streams, we had this consistent viewer that was watching from Australia and one that was watching from Oakland. And we knew because when, you know, either Deanna and I would host the actual stream itself, and they'd always come into the room with the same, you know, name. And so consistently they would come in, they'd ask their questions, we'd encourage people to tell us where they're from, you know, we'd acknowledge them on camera during the live stream. People got a really big kick out of that. We saw a huge increase in numbers because they told 2 people and then told 2 people. You know, especially when we did like celebrities like Terrence Howard. When we did Terrence Howard in New York, it was just like instantaneous, and it wasn't just because of his name, because we did virtually like absolutely no advertising for it. It was just putting him on the homepage of Stickam that got us like those 70,000 views, and you know, almost instantly, and it was consistent throughout the entire hour. So it was exciting.
Now, Drew, in terms of Tubefilter, I mean, Tubefilter really congealed this community in terms of web series and brought us all together. And you still are, you know, years later are now doing these events where people show up in person to see a panel, and that panel's live streamed, and there's tweeting going on during the panel. What are you seeing in terms of the creativity of interacting with the people that can't be there? And are you seeing people that follow Twitter actually come to the next event?
That's an interesting question. When we first decided to live stream the panels, there was 2 reasons. One, we wanted to provide accessibility to people who weren't based locally in Los Angeles. And also, since our events were often oversold continuously and consistently, we needed to find a way for people to get the information out of our panels, because we really accomplish a lot in these panels in terms of discovering new avenues and new parts of producing for the web, producing online. What it ended up happening was, it certainly didn't detract from the audience, the physical audience. It really just sort of became a promotional tool for us. And often, many of our questions are coming in from all over the world. And again, Stickam has been a great partner, producing partner and promotional partner, and they've really fueled a lot of the conversation by just putting us out there. And I think personally, sort of the way we're interacting right now with our panels is sort of like peering through a keyhole. It's extraordinarily limited. I think this is the internet. I'm really looking forward to new technologies that are going to enable more robust interaction, especially in a live experience, like what's going on at chill.com. I think is kind of very interesting. Chill.com is a company that has created a product that allows people to interact in a chat room, but where they're, instead of having a screen name, you have an avatar. It's a little more personable. You can move around. It's sort of spatially oriented. So the chat room is really not just a list of comments. It's actually space where you can move around and interact with people during a live program or together during a VOD program. And so we're going to be integrating Shell into our meetups, and I'm really excited to see how that's going to enable more interactivity, because right now responding to tweets is something you can do on TV. This is the internet. There's so much potential, and
Sure.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how these new technologies are going to enable more robust and meaningful interactivity online.
Mike, as a producer, you pick different cameras for different reasons. They're tools. Whether you're making a feature film, a short, or a live show, you're going to choose a different camera. In that same vein, there are different partners like Stick'em or YouTube that you can live stream on. Creatively, do you choose one over the other, or is there just a lowest common denominator? I'm going to get more views if I'm at this place.
Well, it started off, I mean, I basically used Stream because I had a good partnership with them. I was up there, I met them, they really liked what we did. This was, you know, a couple of years back, where all they really had at the time was sort of rappers in their underwear and single webcams doing their thing. And they liked what we were doing, so they said they would feature us, and they have been, and it's been great. And they even started, you know, about a year and a half ago, they even started changing the whole look of their site and what they were looking for, and sort of featuring more high quality, sort of based on what we were giving them, and they were hoping more people would, and now it sort of has evolved where a lot more live is like that. So that was why we chose Ustream. YouTube now is doing a lot of interesting things, and now obviously since I'm working for a company that's a big YouTube partner, and part of this whole new YouTube Google money thing, I'm looking at YouTube a lot more, you know, and I've been talking to YouTube Live people, and they're really expecting to do some big things in 2012. So now we're sort of doing both. We're doing YouTube and Ustream for all our live. So a lot of times it's sort of chasing that dragon of who's ahead and who, you know, that's how the internet works. You just never know where anything's coming from. But in the end, we know YouTube has money, right? And Ustream doesn't have as much money, but there's some advertising money you make off there. So you're just kind of looking, and it's hard because all our fans are on Ustream because we asked them to be on Ustream for the last couple of years, and then if we go to YouTube only, people aren't going there. And so that's why we have to do dual, but then I'm like, no, go to YouTube, and you know, maybe it's a better picture, or however we end up feeding it, but people just want to stay where they are. So that becomes sort of a challenge as well. Once you've established where they go, they're sort of staying there.
Brian, do you find them like different cameras as tools? Are there pluses or minuses creatively?
Well, I mean, you have to know what the camera you're deciding on for your production has a lot to do with the production you're going for. I mean, I'm a big fan of Panasonic's.
Let me start. I'm asking, like a camera, is picking a live streaming partner, is there a tool
It's
difference?
just so gear oriented. Yeah. You know, it's interesting about the YouTube live platform because you know, they haven't been in it as long, and they don't have the technology that the other guys, like Ustream has all these crazy overlays and a lot of things you can do. Justin.tv has delay servers because they're doing tournaments, so people can't, like, you know, StarCraft guys can't watch each other and see what the other guy's doing, so they might delay the feed. And you know, Stickam has multiple cameras that you can put on. So it really depends on the live production you're doing that makes you decide on these things. And Mike brings up a good point. Yeah, everyone's kind of used to watching on Ustream or used to watching on Justin.tv. We're on Justin.tv and Twitch a lot. But I think after a little while, you know, how many people already have a YouTube account? How many people already have a Google account? So I think you're going to see YouTube really starting to pick up a lot of steam. And if you can get on the YouTube Live, it's just a kind of limited availability right now. But that's where most of the people already are. And I think you're going to see a lot of people jumping on that, and that's starting to dominate pretty soon.
I have to say, the one thing I think is exciting about YouTube coming in and late like this is that it gives you a chance to sort of separate the wheat from the chaff with regards to your audience, because I think there's been a real huge focus on quantity up until this point, and I think that moving forward, and you've seen this at the front page of YouTube, that quality is now becoming a great value, like especially on par with quantity. And you know, YouTube for a long time has been pushing quantity as its biggest selling point, but as you can see, you know, starting last year, they've been transitioning into quality programming, and I think as much as I love some of the huge volume that some of the promotional partners I work with provides, I don't know how thick that audience is. I don't know if these are just people who are dropping in and leaving, or if these are hardcore fans, and it's really hard to distinguish one from the other. And so I think, you know, restarting on YouTube might give me a way to have sort of a fresh start building an audience, because I think the content's compelling enough, and YouTube's a big enough platform that it'll rise to the top, I think.
Damian,
Yeah.
In terms of the tools themselves for interacting with the audiences, so is there one that you prefer over the other for any reason?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Twitter, I think is probably one of the best ways to interact with your audience. Most of these live platforms integrate Twitter and Facebook. You know, for us personally, we noticed a higher convergence with Facebook interaction than we actually did with Twitter interaction. The difference is not everything actually converged into Facebook, so we noticed that we'd actually have to be on our page at the same time that we'd have our stream going on. You know, and it's funny actually, just to echo kind of what Drew was saying about quality over quantity. You know, for us, even with our interactions, you know, we're looking for those super fans. We're looking for that audience that is, we're encouraging to self-promote. You know, actually, one of the things that we've done is create with some of the promotional partners at Web TV Workshop, and even now New Media Vault, some of the sponsors that we have, you know, different giveaways and different, you know, retweet contests, things like that, that encourage the audience to become marketers for your actual product. And the more that we encourage them by giving them something, because obviously everyone likes to receive, it became more successful for us in terms of spreading the word to new audiences and new communities.
So, Brian, you started out in your bedroom. You had to be pretty creative there in terms. As you were going through the process, what were the things that, as a producer, you wanted to get next? And, you know, tell us about getting those and what you learned along the way.
I think the biggest thing I was looking for was, you know, I was providing a kind of platform for people to be creative on, and so I was looking for people that were, you know, trying to be as creative as possible, people that wanted to make cooler sets, people that wanted to make cooler shows. But if you're making your own show, you know, you have what you want to do in mind already. I guess I always wanted just better toys. I'm a big gearhead. I always go towards that. So I wanted more. I wanted better lights. I wanted lights that you could control better. You could dim and shape them. I wanted better cameras, better audio equipment. I found a lot of things look good, but a lot of people are lacking in audio a lot of the time. If you can't hear what's going on, you're not going to be able to tune in. So the first thing I would go after is really getting a hold of how you're capturing your audio. Because that seems to be a big weakness I see. As people go on, a lot of people know how to shoot stuff really cool, and a lot of people got 7Ds and 5Ds and things going on with that, and you can't really integrate those live so much. But don't forget about the audio. People need to hear it, and it needs to sound clean and good.
You know, actually, just to echo that, I have to say, like, I watch, you know, the Stream.tv quite a bit, and the quality of live streaming that you guys have pales in comparison to a lot of people, and it's because of what you're saying right now, because you actually take the time and care about it, you know, your lighting, your audio, the types of cameras you're using, learning the cameras you're using, and integrating that into, you know, your production, and it's amazing. Yeah.
Thanks.
What are the things, Mike, that you want now that you don't have? What would you like to see in live streaming?
I'd like to see. I mean, for me, it relates more to audience. I got to be honest. It's, you know, we go for more, I guess, a more mature audience. You know, we don't really do the video game stuff. We don't do the typical internet things, right? So we have a very, you know, small. I mean, I guess compared to like a big YouTube page, we have a smaller audience. And I want to see that build. I want to see more people realizing, I guess, relating to quality really is, in the end all be all, I want everybody who's doing live streaming to give full quality, to look good, to sound good. I see so many people who's like, I'm live streaming, and then it's just somebody in a webcam, and that makes all of us look bad, because then that's the perception that people think it is. When you go outside of LA, when you go outside of the web community of New York or whatever, or LA, you know, when I go to Connecticut to visit my friends, they're like, what do you mean? So you're just talking into a camera? I'm like, no, it's 5-camera HD. It looks like TV. We're on, if you have a Roku box, we have 80,000 subscribers on Roku, because they sort of get it. They can watch it on their 52-inch HD TV. but that doesn't mean anything monetarily, right? So what I hope is this keeps expanding and things get, and by expanding, I guess the first step is make your shit look good. If it doesn't look good, that's not helping the community at all. And it's just bringing everybody else down because it's the perception of the person watching it, and it's the perception of the people who want to pay, sponsors, they still don't get it. So people like me and people like Brian, I think if we can, get more people to do those sort of things, to really up what they're doing, and it's not hard, it's not expensive to do, that's sort of what I'm looking for the next phase.
Drew, have you taken a look at what Wall Street Journal Live is doing on the iPad and on Apple TV?
Well, I think that, first of all, Wall Street Journal is very, very intelligently playing they're a very smart company. They're very smart.
Sorry, what?
Huh?
What'd you say?
I said I think Wall Street Journal is doing it the right way, particularly not just in video, but in general how they're approaching the landscape of media companies. As a publisher myself, I can understand some of the challenges of reaching audiences and monetizing news. And the Wall Street Journal's approach, which is very different than Variety's approach or the Hollywood Reporter's approach, particularly when it comes to entertainment news, is great. And I think the fact that they're putting an emphasis on live really grabs attention, because right now the way you can get attention on the internet is by being the loudest. And so the more urgency you can create, you can either do that by allowing your audience to build momentum around a meme that goes viral, or you can say, we're going to do something, you have to tune in, it has to happen now, it's an event. You get a lot more traction, and brands respond to that better. And they love events where people show up, even if it's not, even they show up virtually. So I'm very impressed with what's going on there.
Well, with Wall Street Journal, they're doing live ad insertion into the live stream. They're selling that inventory.
It's critical, I think.
Yeah. So, Brian, how are you approaching, as you're creating the show, are you building in advertising inventory? What are you doing, and are you able to dynamically swap out that advertising either in the live or the VOD?
Okay, so when we first started, we didn't have to worry the way you monetize things. Well, we didn't monetize things at first, but now we actually have to produce our live streams for that. And so instead of maybe one of our shows being this 60-minute kind of like, hey, there was the show and now it's done, we've integrated breaks into the shows, so we can put those live ad inserts in there. And then once we've recorded it, once you put it on something, maybe you're using Blip TV or something like that to do your VOD, to have that space so you gracefully say, hey, thank you for watching. You're watching the Stream.TV. We'll be right back. It goes to black. We stick the mid-roll in on demand, then it comes back up, hey, welcome back to whatever show you're doing. So you have to be mindful of that. And then it also kind of goes back to traditional TV formatting where, they don't let you just put a mid-roll in every 3 seconds. You have to have X amount of content, and you need to tease them to make sure they come back after the ad roll. So while you're laying out the rundown of your show, you have to be mindful about integrating advertising into it. But even more than the mid-rolls and the post-rolls and the breaks and the way they insert ads, you really have to think about, how do I insert advertising into the event? And like Drew was talking about, you really have to make it an event people have to show up for. You can do a talk show, but I've been trying to focus more on the event. So we're doing tournaments, and you got to watch a tournament live. You don't want to watch a football game after the fact. You want to show up and watch it live. So where can you place advertising? Behind the commentators, behind the players, on big screen TVs, on projectors. So we're here to make money. We can't keep having all these fun toys without cash. So you have to go in to your production thinking about how you're going to monetize it.
There's several ways to advertise on a live program, and there's other ways to fund your program as well. But with regards to advertising, there's the midstream and pre-roll and post-roll spots. There is the contextual advertising. So on a YouTube page, there isn't, there's the player, but then there's all the real estate around that, which can also be coordinated with that. And then, of course, there's the integration, which is usually what you use to fund the actual project itself. So the brand backing is either going to integrate into the project, or the project's going to be part of the greater brand message of the project. And then, of course, there's other ways of monetizing, which is pay-per-view and licensing for distribution.
Actually, just to add to that, it's really interesting because a lot of people haven't done so much with the branded, I think, on the live side. One of the things that we're doing right now is we've changed our Pro Panel series. One of our major sponsors is Showbiz Software Store in New York and Los Angeles, and we've done all of our live streams, and we're scheduled to do all of our live streams from their store, and we create the event around the actual integration for the brand. On top of the fact, you know, having it as an in-store with a live audience creates more of a dynamic feel, I think, you know, for your product. And we've done the pre-roll and the post-roll. The difference was we didn't monetize as much as that as the overlay. The overlay actually we made more money off of because it actually went out to a greater deal of the audience than, let's say, if you're watching a live stream and you do you know, you have a live show and you have a mid-roll, a post-roll, or pre-roll, how many people are watching live during the actual airing of that mid, post, and pre, as opposed to having the overlay at the bottom, you know, lower thirds of the actual screen stay up either 3/4 of the way, half of the way, you know, most of the way. And we found actually monetarily that we made more money off of the overlay than we did the post, mid, and pre-roll.
So I think both with Damian and Drew, you have an interesting model. If you look at traditional television where there's a live studio audience, they have to work each day to fill those seats and get that audience in there. With you guys, you both have events that people are paying money to come to, and then they're the audience that's in studio.
Mine are all free. Actually, New Media Vault is free, and Web TV Workshop Pro Panels are part of the class.
But it's part of the class.
But it's part of the class.
So they've paid to be in that class, and Drew, you're having a live event where people have paid. So I think that's an interesting monetization model as well in the live stream. I've also, you know, talked to a lot of people that it's way easier to get a sponsor for a physical live event, a party. It's easy to get drink sponsors. It's easier to get technology sponsors. But then at the same time, if you're live streaming that, you're still being paid for it. Which is something that you do on a regular basis, Drew.
In my experience, our sponsors are more interested in the 400 people in the room than they are the 50,000 people online. And I don't know the reason for that. I think a lot of it has to do with they can actually see and touch, literally, the people who are there, shake hands, take photos, feel important. There's a lot that goes into sponsoring an event.
But I guess what my point is that if you're passionate about producing a live stream and you want to make money producing that show, even though the sponsor isn't paying you for the live stream, you're still monetizing that live stream by having the live event.
Absolutely.
That's my point.
That's it. I mean, the live stream for the meetup, at least, is very different than the Streamin Awards. The Streamin Awards, the audience that's watching is really the primary focus. But for the meetup, the in-house audience is really what this is all about. And the value they get out of the meetup extends beyond just watching the panel. It's about being there, interacting with people, and beyond.
So we do have a clip coming up. Do we have 2 clips or 1 clip? One clip. Yeah. Anything you want to set up for this, and I'll let you.
Oh yeah, totally. So this is actually taken. So we did a live stream of the Pro Panel series. This is a pre-taped Pro Panel series. So we took a live show to a broadcast show, and this is a clip from the broadcast show, which will start airing in May of this year. I can't announce officially the network, but it's a pretty fun extended basic cable network who's picked up this. So. Turn the volume. Is there volume?
We're not hearing volume.
We're not hearing any volume.
Stand by. Technical difficulties. Please do not adjust your set.
Is the computer plugged in?
No, maybe
is the computer plugged into the audio?
You gotta plug in the volume.
There's a plug in. It looks like there's a plug in the speaker. Is it in the right one? Headset? Speaker? That's it, speaker.
There you go. That would work.
Yeah, I'm not hearing that.
Plug it in. No, plug it.
Okay. Here, we'll do it.
Okay, do it that way.
Here we go. Can you guys hear that?
I'm really excited because tonight we have a wonderful panel for you, and I'd like to introduce some pioneers, some executives, some directors, writers, all of the above, what we like to call multi-hyphenates here in the web space, but some of the most successful people that myself and Deanna have had the pleasure to work with and introduce now to the world.
Yeah, but you got to crawl before you walk, and you got to make mistakes to learn them.
Yes, and
True.
boy, there's still a lot of that going on.
Hayden, I think you're definitely right, and your show is a testament to that and the development you did. But I was
$20 in half.
I was just talking to somebody
Which part
though,
is
and
a
they were
testament?
and they were.
I think it's more important to aim for sustainability and the idea that you can create a show that can run for a long period of time. And it came up earlier, and the YouTubers get a lot of shit from the web series community.
Because they're vloggers, they're not.
But the fact of the matter is that the YouTube community are the ones making sustainable content. Their creators are the ones that are able to make these shows that last 2 and 3 and 4 years, and they do change and they do evolve and they adapt to the YouTube system.
But just on YouTube, and the question is, taking in all these other markets into consideration, you know, is a YouTuber who is throwing all convention to the wind and is very successful in his
I don't
niche on
agree that it's
YouTube.
just on YouTube. I think that the most successful YouTubers are on multiple platforms. They have a distributed content. They have a distributed content.
Yeah, you're right in the sense of it starts and ends with the story. If the story's crap, then you'll have an audience for a little while, and then you're going to lose them. But looking at...
Thank you guys so much for being here. But before we end this panel, where can we find you online? What's your Twitter handle and or your blog? Give us your website. And also, what's next? What's coming up next for Hayden, Barrett, and Canyon?
Well, Jim, you can find me...
Great. Well, big round of applause for our panel. You guys have done a wonderful job tonight. So stay tuned, stay informed, and stay watching right here at webtvworkshop.com.
So that's a multi-cam show that we actually created out of a pro panel series, our live show.
Drew, when you're doing your events, how are you approaching them in terms of the live stream? I mean, for the most part, it's about the live event. But what are you doing to take into consideration that live stream?
Well, it's interesting because for the most part, we produce the live stream is sort of an add-on. When we did the show at the Stream.tv, the live stream was the primary focus. It was a part of Social Media Week. And so the audience in the studio was sort of there to witness a live show being produced, whereas when we're at the Ballroom and Busby's, it's really about the people who are there, and then there's a camera that sort of records it. Sometimes we have 2 camera with a switcher, but the production is focused more on the actual physical event than it is about the stream, sort of like what's happening here. So it's very easy to live stream. It's not difficult. Most cameras are, they have FireWire out. You can plug right into a laptop, and you can connect to any of the multitude of services from live stream to Ustream to Justin TV to, YouTube, Stickcam. And you can reach thousands of people instantly. As long as the sound's good and the lighting's good and the people that you have up on stage or that you're recording are compelling, then you have a recipe for success, in my opinion.
Mike, how many different formats do you have in terms of the shows that you produce, and how do you approach them differently?
It depends if you're talking what we have or we have in development. I mean, we have a talk show. We have the talk show format for Something Stupid for Movies, but then there's also a news pop culture element to that. We have Chad Vader, who presents the news for that. We have the music show, Stripped Down Live. I do a talk show also, Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I direct and executive produce. Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to do everything really and trying to see what hits. So I don't know if there's really an answer for how many we have right now. I guess, I mean, live tends to focus on the talk show. And then we're trying to expand out to more comedy. We have a new thing that's fairly recent called Super Scary Horror Theater, which is sort of an Elvira, and we're sort of even melding that into a Mystery Science Theater. We want live comedy, live sketch comedy, that we're showing a movie and then we come back and forth and do live sketch comedy in between. Again, because why do live? There's more than just a talk show. What else can we do with it? Here's a way we can, you know, present comedy and have fun and then interact. And we have games that we play with. You know, we do, you know, we name celebrities and you have to tell us if they died a gruesome death or a normal death, you know, because we have this crazy Miss Dementia character who's sort of like an Elvira. So that's sort of, we're just toying with everything really to see what sticks. And I'm the kind of person who I get bored pretty quick, and I go, okay, everybody's doing this, so that means we have to do something better and different.
Brian, when you're approaching these the different shows that you do, what are you seeing in terms of viewership from live versus when you take them VOD? And have you noticed different formats perform differently? I mean, event versus a talk show.
Yeah. You're always, over time, you're going to be able to get more people watching the VOD. I mean, it's just kind of reality of it. The VOD happens once, and we're all in a DVR generation, so you get as many people to show up to the event as possible, and then over time, you know, you've archived the VOD, and that's going to continue continuously not only accrue views, but accrue revenue for you. So you're always going to get more. And I haven't found a difference in the ratio. It's the ratio, to me, in my experience anyway, has been the same. So, you know, if it seems about like whatever you got live, you're going to get, you know, 5 to 10 times more VOD over the life of the project.
So, Damian, you'll tweet out your older shows that they're there. You'll draw attention to them. It'll be the video of the day, that type of thing. Is there any rhyme and reason, any kind of spikes that you've seen in the VOD of the live show? Or have you ever had a live show that's just like through the roof and then does nothing on VOD?
Yeah, of course. I mean, a lot of the celebrity content, we see spikes. Usually the spikes are when they have something coming out, and that's when we'll actually tweet Terrence Howard just got a divorce, Terrence Howard just did this, check out him at Web TV Workshop. So we're kind of playing off of current news for some of the celebrities that have been on the show. But the biggest thing, though, whether it's a celebrity or not, who's part of one of our pro panels, is controversy. Anything that's a controversial topic, anything that is a little bit edgy or different, and kind of to echo what Drew was saying, a compelling, you know, a compelling panelist is someone who draws a little bit of controversy to the discussion. And usually people will go back and they'll say, did you hear what Barrett just said? Or did you hear what Hayden just said? Or, oh my God, I can't believe this. And then we'll start to react off those comments. And that's usually when we see those spikes and trends.
Do we have any questions in the audience? We have a few minutes. If anyone does have a question, now's your chance. There's a microphone right over there. Please make your way to the microphone. So, dealing with celebrities. I guess you've all had your celebrity moments. Some of you have celebrity shows. Any tips, tricks on working with the visiting celebrity as opposed to the regular host celebrity?
Well, it's. I mean, it's. I learned coming from. I mean, I was my TV shows were. I started at Leno when I was politically incorrect with Bill Maher, so I'm just very used to that world. But you find that most people aren't, and you just gotta, I mean, you deal with them with kid gloves. I mean, when a celebrity comes in, you can't start asking them for pictures and all those kind of things. Is that what you mean? Just like, or in terms of production, a camera to them's a camera. That's the interesting thing. They all kind of get like, you know, from the A-listers to, you know, the C-listers that we have on Pollak, which is mostly pretty good A and Bs. they just love what we're doing. They're like, this is really interesting. We didn't know, wow, how do you do this? Those kind of things. And then they like the fact that we sit down for a conversation. But in terms of production, whether it's internet or whether it's TV, you still have to be extremely professional with people. You're not going to hang out with them afterwards and get their phone number and, hey, I want to take a picture for my Twitter feed and all that stuff, unless they're willing to do it. But you have to be as professional as you would be if you were on a multi-million-dollar shoot.
I have to echo that. Professionalism is first and foremost the most important thing. People ask me, how did we get such high-power talent at the Streamin Awards? How did we get Neil Patrick Harris? How did we get Joss Whedon? How did we get Lisa Kudrow? And really what you have to do is be professional, respect the chain of communication, understand that the transactional nature, understand the value of their time, and understand what they're giving up in order to be there, and be appreciative enough, but also understand and lay out what it is that you want, and then don't push it. So if it means they drop in, you drop them off the limo, in, out, and that's what they give you, then that's what you get. You have to understand that it's always a transaction. Either you're compensating them or they're promoting something, and you're trying to minimize the friction, and certainly never try to exploit your talent, because that never works. It backfires.
Can I say that just for people that for advice for people that are starting and they're not big, they don't have all the assets and all the staff, just ask a lot of questions, because the bigger celebrities, they kind of know what they need to kind of do their thing and look good. So maybe they need some water on hand. Maybe they ask them what they're going to need to be able to be at their best. And again, like Drew said, you don't want to infringe on anything. So just be polite and ask a lot of questions before you do something. Don't assume it's like your buddy that you can get away with everything.
Yeah, so, actually, just to echo that, I think the biggest thing too, and I agree with Drew, is definitely don't exploit your talent, and understand the limitations and the chain of command. I think one of the biggest things though too, and especially like when we had other celebrities on our show, was that we treated them like any other guest. Whether or not they were a celebrity or if they weren't, they were coming because they were coming, and like Mike said, to do something new and exciting that maybe they have or haven't done before, because a lot of them haven't really worked in the digital space or understand even what live streaming is. Even for instance, like, when we worked with Kevin or even Terrence, our views increased a multitude, like tripled, even quadrupled, and we were able to like maintain that, and so we're extremely thankful for having them, and hopefully we have them back again.
Brian, I'm going to go down the line on this one. Brian, what do you think we're going to see in the coming years that's going to be new and trend changing in live streaming?
That's very interesting. I think I think you're just going to see television production and the casual nature of what you're just doing with a webcam in your bedroom. I just think you'll see that merging a little bit more. I see the casual streaming productions getting more professional, and I also see the traditional television try to be hipper and cooler and talk about Twitter and do that. So I think you're going to see that happening. I'm interested to see how YouTube's platform is going to catch up with all the other unique things that Justin.tv and Ustream and Stickam offer. So I think you're hopefully going to see a lot of innovation. Back to what Drew was saying was, how can we get more out of this than simply watching a television show and having the show talk to us? How does the audience participate in making the show happen along with the content producers?
Damian?
I think it's really exciting, like even just this week being here at CES, some of the new technologies and the people that I've talked to and met with. It's pretty amazing. And I'm going to echo Brian, because I think YouTube is, I'm most excited and interested to see what happens with that.
Mike?
Probably, other than the quality improving and probably a lot more people getting into this space, and possibly, I think you're going to see network TV get into this space and more professionals get into this space, just like you did on the YouTube channels, where suddenly Shaquille O'Neal's a channel, even though he's never done this really before. You're going to see that. You're going to see people trying to do things. And the YouTube thing's going to be interesting. They keep telling me, they're like, there's huge things coming. The ship is coming. Trust us. I don't know what that means, but they keep telling me they really want to make sure that every show we do live is on YouTube, which is great. They're really paying attention to what Streaming Garage is doing, so it's pretty interesting. And then the interactive thing, I want to see how Chill does and things like that, where we're going to see more screens that go out and it becomes a room of people You know, when we do it, I think we're very smart with it, how we bring in our Skype. We make it look very professional. We have split screen. We do stuff, you know, that's why we get hired by a lot of different companies to do this. I think that's going to even expand out to more, where you're going to see more squares and more people in very interesting ways of bringing people in and out of conversations.
Drew?
You're going to definitely see production quality increase, I think, exponentially. And there's going to be a lot more high production event coverage from political debates are going to be live streamed. You're going to see a lot more sports being live streamed. Conferences and events will be live streamed. Concerts, performances. There'll be a lot less scripted content online that's going to be live streamed. Certainly the young person in the bedroom, I think, is going to dwindle as these more very interesting, compelling shows are going to be streamed online. And I also think there's going to be some new breeds of reality programming where you have to be there and watch it live in order to believe that it's happening. So think of something between some huge magic performance and a reality show where things are incredible feats that cannot be faked are going to be live streamed so that you know that they're actually happening. That's what I think the future of is, and that's where they're going to have really high level engagement in programming live.
Great.
We tried, I was going to say just really quick, we tried one thing on the last X Factor show where in between commercial breaks we went live on a tablet. So if you're watching the show, we had a pre-show live. The show went then live on Fox, and then during commercials on your tablet, you can watch behind-the-scenes stuff where we start wrapping up and we're backstage talking and seeing what's going on.
I'm sure the advertisers loved that.
The advertisers, I'm sure, hated it. We tried it, but Verizon paid for it, so there was an advertiser. Somebody pays for it to make up for it.
We have a question?
Excuse me, I just have one question. My name is Isabel. I'm a creative director of Bikini Shell. So my question goes back to your celebrity panels. In your business experience, what has been the best process for you when doing celebrity interviews? Is it something, when I've done celebrity interviews before, I like to pre-give them the questions that I'm going to ask them. In your experience, is this helpful, or have you found that throwing the questions at them is best? I'm still kind of playing with that, so I would love to hear your answer.
I guess coming from TV, the pre-planned questions is exactly why I love what I'm doing now, because we don't do that anymore. Like on Leno, that's what we did. Obviously, you know, it was pre-planned. Everybody knew what the interview was going to be. At Kevin Pollak's chat show, it's a conversation that the person has no idea. When you say throw questions at them, you certainly don't want to do that. You don't want to trip them up. I mean, I guess it depends what you're trying to do. But, you know, it's just a good natural way to interview somebody is get to know them through your own bios and things, but I never like sending questions to them because it also makes them plan things, and it makes them, now it takes more of their time. So it's like, oh, I just want to come and I'm going to do an interview with you guys. Well, wait, oh, you're going to give me questions and I got to prepare that, and you know, so there's that element. Plus there's the element of if you do that, they're just going to be hawking their new movie, and that doesn't really help anybody, and you're just doing the same thing as everybody else is doing on the red carpet or on a late night show.
I mean, it really depends on what you want. I mean, if you want to throw a question at someone and watch them stutter and stumble through an answer or have no real good answer, sometimes that's good. Sometimes you want to embarrass somebody. Sometimes, you know, like you want to get someone. Let's say you're Michael Moore and you want to interview somebody and put them on the spot and watch them fall apart, or, you know, like the Ali G show or something like that. But typically what you want to do is you want to at least have your talent prepared so that you get the best out of what you want, right? You understand what you're giving them. You're either compensating them by paying them, or you're allowing them to promote something. Again, like I say, it's very transactional, and everyone understands that. So as long as you get what you want and you give them what they want, then you're going to have something that's great. But you really need to know what you want because their time is what they get paid for. That's their product. So you have to respect that, but you also have to see that as a resource and get the most out of it that you can.
Don't ever forget that no matter what we've said, you're putting on a show. And so what is going to make the best show? Is it a show where you want to shock someone and have controversy? You might want them stuttering. Is it a show where you're just trying to be really nice and get more guests to come on because you make them look so good? So always just keep that in mind. You're putting on a show, and how do I make the most entertaining show that people are going to watch? And ideally rewatch, because I mean the best things I think of are the shows that I watch, and I want to rewatch it with my friends. So are you making that?
You know, it's funny, like with us, our brand kind of spoke for itself. So we'd offer if they wanted questions or if they needed to know anything, but 9 times out of 10 they didn't. And what they loved about it, and again, kind of to echo Mike, was the casualness of the conversation and the fact like that they weren't necessarily plugging a movie, they weren't necessarily plugging a product, that they were just here in front of a group of 15 or 20 people having a conversation about their creative process or about their new digital property or something that was of interest to them at that time, that Deanna and I would drive the conversation for.
Yeah, but that kind of rapport that you have is something that you have to earn, and I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Kevin Pollak show, I think that as a guest, you know what you're in for, and you also know that you're safe. And I think that's something that that just isn't naturally assumed. I think that's a privilege that you earn as a host that people can trust.
Yeah, and I think that's part of your brand. That's what I'm saying. Is like if your brand will speak for itself. If people want to know about, if they're worried about being a guest on your show, they can go back and watch your archive footage and see, oh, okay, this is who this person is, and we'll provide those links.
We're out of time, so let's just go down the line, starting with Drew. Where can people watch your shows?
So you can always go to tubefilter.com and streamies.com. Our YouTube page, youtube.com/streamies, has clips from the past Streaming Awards. And youtube.com/tubefilter has the VOD versions of our live shows.
Our stuff's at youtube.com/Streamin Garage or streamingarage.com, and then the new company I'm working for, youtube.com/Bammo, BAMMO.
We're webtvworkshop.com. Our YouTube page is youtube.com/webtvworkshop. Our Twitter handle is @webtvworkshop, and my Twitter handle is @Damian, DAMIAN Media.
We're thestream.tv, just thestream.tv, so for the VOD or the live.
I'm Tim Street with the IAWTV board. I'm on the board of directors, and also if you're interested in inserting commercials into a live stream, check out mdialogue.com. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Thanks a lot. And,
thank you.
Thank you.